Welcome to Mid BC. It's our end of the season annual under the hood video of what's under the hood of the cars that competed in the GT3 Proxy this year that finished in the top 10. I have the 10 cars here, the top 10, and I've loosened the bodies off already. So it'll be nice and easy to show you guys exactly what's under the hoods. Okay, our top 10 cars for the 2022 GT3 Proxy consisted of Les finishing in 10th, DF Racing finishing in 9th, Fast Company in 8th, Modern Slots 7th, PKCZ in 6th, Smokey 5th, Redliner 4th, Courtney in 3rd, Aloha in 2nd, and CGY Racer in 1st. We're going to start with Les's car. Les has a NSR Corvette, and this is a very unique car actually. I'll show that to you in a bit, but let's get his weight first of all. Les's car comes in around 94 grams. And that's going to be fairly typical, I think. I think you're going to see a lot of high 80s to low 90s cars here. So Les, his car is very unique. He custom built a Lexan chassis, milled it out of a block of Lexan, which he usually does on a lot of his cars that he submits for various proxy series. I see he's got like a slot cut out on each side, as we see in a lot of cars you buy over the counter. Gives you a little bit of chassis flex. He does have a bit of flex there, I see. He even milled out his own guide out of a block of Lexan, black Lexan. And yeah, even his front axle supports are milled out of Lexan. Pretty much everything's custom on this chassis except for the pod. It's got a slotted pod here. Looks like a 0.5 offset pod. Weight placement. I see Les has a piece of weight underneath the rear axle. He's got weight on the pod. A little bit of weight on either side of the pod here on the chassis. And he's got some weight right behind the front guide. His axle, it's a solid axle. Both tires turn. He doesn't have a whole lot of movement on the pod. Don't see much flex. I don't see much movement on the pod. What I do see flex is the chassis though, as the pod moves. Yeah, you might have just a hair of movement on the pod. It might just be cracked 1/8 of an inch or something. I don't know. There's not much movement on the pod. He's got tape for the suspension, full tape on the whole pod. Front axle, a little bit of slide on the block. Motor, I think Les is using an NSR Shark 25 motor on my notes here. His gearing, the Sidewinder, is 1131 for 2.82 gear ratio. He's using NSR Ultra Grips on the back. He's got fat hubs, I see here. Let's measure his hubs. Yeah, 12.53. So yeah, he's using CB Design 13 mil wide hubs. Yeah, 15 by 13 hubs. Nice fat tires. Those are probably Vanquish hubs, or Vanquish tires, I should say, manufactured by NSR. Those fit really well on 13 mil CB Design hubs. Okay, we'll move on to the next car. Congrats, Les, finishing in 10th. I should also say Les is from British Columbia as well, same as me, here in Kelowna. Another Kelowna car, finished in 9th. Dodge Farmer, DF Racing, he goes by for his proxy cars. And yeah, he finished in 9th. He's got a beautiful Scale Auto Viper. Just gorgeous. Number 93. And yeah, he finished in a solid 9th this year. Weight. Randy comes in around 86 grams for total weight. Okay, weight placement. Randy's got weight all over the place, actually. He's got, looks like he lost a piece of weight right here in the front. He had another one right here. He's got weight in the front, a little bit here, weight behind the rear tires, or front tires, I should say, and another strip on either side here. Looks like he's got, is that 2 layers there? Can't tell. 1 or 2 layers of weight on the pod. Oh, even on the side of the motor. Randy's got weight on the side of the motor. And that looks about it for weight. Yeah, that's it for weight. He's using Randy's using he's using the black sideways standard chassis. Not sideways, Scale Auto, sorry. And he's got tape for the suspension on the front part of the pod, front 2/3. He's got screws in here. Does he have springs under there for suspension too? Can't tell. But yeah, he's limiting his pod movement with the wings here. So he's got a little bit of movement. It's moving about I'll say about 1/2 mil. A little bit of movement. Yeah, definitely about 1/2 mil. I can see about 1/2 mil moving on all the screws on the pod for the suspension. Front axle, solid. Oh, no, he's got independent front wheels. CB Design front and rear hubs. Scale Auto guide. Motor. Randy's using that's a slot.it 29K motor with the red end bell. Gearing. Randy has 11 tooth pinion and 35 tooth hub. Spur gear, I should say. For a 3:18 ratio. $11.6, 11.7. I think those are 12 mil. Yeah, I think that's a 15 by 12 male hub. Yeah. Yeah, and he's running NSR Ultra Grips. Yeah, my notes here. It's 15 by 12 CB design hubs. So yeah, nice beefy tires, just like what Les was using. Just a hair narrower than Les's. Okay, congrats, Randy, for your 9th. Up next, we got Fast Company. Steve out of North Carolina. Finished in a solid 8th position with this NSR Viper. Fast Company's been building a lot of great cars lately. Very consistent, very smooth. He's built a reputation of building some smooth, stable cars to race. So weight-wise, $83 grams. Lightest of the cars we've weighed so far. It's a green custom painted NSR Corvette. Okay, under the hood here. Huge King 19 motor, long can, angle winder. Geez, where's the weight in this? I don't see any extra weight. That's the first car. Oh, there might be weight under here. There has to be. I think there's weight under there. Yeah, my guess is he's got weights in these pockets in the middle of the pod. So I don't see any other weight in this car. He's got the support for the posts, rear axle posts for the pod, just so to limit the movement for the supports for the rear axle. A little bit of movement with the front wheels. A little bit of up-down movement, not much, just a hair. Sits nice and flat on the block. He's got one solid piece of tape on the front 2/3 of the pod for the suspension. Oh yeah, he's got quite a bit of movement on the pod. I'd say that's around 1 millimeter of movement up and down for the suspension. Yeah. His guide arm, he's got it taped solid, and he's got it screwed solid as well, so there's no movement on the guide. And it's a solid front axle. Motor, King 19, I already pointed out. Gearing. Steve's using 13 tooth pinion and a 31 tooth spur gear for a 2.38 average. Guide. Looks like he's using he's using a NSR screw-in guide. Doesn't look like a very deep guide. Definitely it's not a deep guide, it's the standard. Yeah, he's definitely I see about, geez, 1 or 2 mils of space on the slot car corner block here of gap that he could have used with a deeper guide. So yeah, it's a very shallow guide. the hubs. The hubs all around are NSR hubs. 10.7 mil wide rear hubs. 10.5, 10.7. And they're definitely the air hubs. I can feel the pocket. Yeah, I don't know if there's any sponge under there, but definitely I feel the ribs. Great job, Steve, on your 8th place. Next, we have Modern Slots, also out of North Carolina. Rob finished in 7th place with his NSR Corvette. And Rob comes in at 83 grams. Similar weight to his clubmate Steve's Corvette. Okay, weight placement. So, yeah, Steve, the previous car had that huge big block motor, which weighs a ton. And Rob has a Sidewinder in his NSR car with weight, big piece of weight on the front, big triangle. He cut out the pockets and put a nice flat piece of weight in there. Some thin weight along the sides of the chassis. He's got weight here. I wonder if the weight fell off on this side, if that's on purpose or what, but it's got weight on this side but not on this side. And that's it for weight. No weight underneath, and he's got the support for the rear axle. He's got the support tube here, prevent any flex between the posts. That holds the bushings for the rear axle, same as Steve's car. He's got a little, yeah, he's got about, I'd say about 1 mil of movement on his pod. Yeah, I would say so. And tape, he's got a piece of tape along the front half, 2/3 of the pod for suspension. Independent front wheels. Wheels are just grazing the block. Just grazing. It's got a little more up and down movement on the front wheels compared to some of the other cars. The guide, he's got a, what kind of guide is this? This is a, see if it's written in my notes here. It's an NSR wood guide, okay. Yeah, and it looks a little deeper than Steve's car. Yeah, it's almost flush with the bottom of the block. Almost. So we have a Sidewinder with a Shark 25K Evo motor. Rob has 11-tooth pinion and 33-tooth spur gear for a gear ratio of 3.00. Looks like he has NSR hubs in the front. Yeah, NSR hubs in the front, and looks like he has CB design hubs in the back. Yeah, that's what he has in my notes here. It says 15 by 12. Yeah, 12.32 mil wide. 15 by 12 CB design hubs. beefy tires on there. Good job, Rob, on your 7th place. Next, 6th place, we have PKCZ, Peter out of the Czechia, formerly the Czech Republic. One of our European friends that competed in our Proxy this season. So congratulations on your 6th, and fantastic you were able to join our Proxy. It's great seeing more worldwide entrants in our Proxy. So the story with Peter's car is he came in, I think this might even be his first Proxy, and not knowing what type of tires to use, he went with the Scale Auto AS25 tire, and which has never been used in a Proxy before. And he came in here and in round 0 broke my track record with a, what did he have? 6.35 second time in round 0 here at Mid BC, and he broke my fastest lap of 6.4 something. So he broke it by at least, you know, 0.5 of a second. So congratulations. The thing is, these tires did not perform well on all the tracks. He seemed to be track sensitive depending on if it was a, like, he seemed to do really well on the rubber only tracks or urethane only tracks. But on some tracks that use some silicone tires and clean their tracks more often and ran a mixture of different tires, rubber, silicone, urethane, the tires were just did not hook up. So, which it was very interesting to watch as the season went on, but overall, he averaged out at 6th place overall, and that's just fantastic. His other Czech friend that raced with us, JMS, he didn't finish as high. He had a little more bad luck, but he was very similar results to Peter, with finishing in top 3 in some tracks, and in some tracks bottom 3. Let's see what's under the hood of Peter's car here, but let's weigh it first. $89 grams. So this is actually our first Ford GTE we're looking at, and Peter actually built his own 3D chassis for the GTE. Lots of flat spots to place weight on his chassis design. No tape for the suspension. The pod is just, yeah, there's definitely pod movement. Yeah, I'd say at least 1/2 mil. Yeah, about 1/2 mil of pod movement. Maybe a little less. It's definitely there. Yeah. Yeah, but no tape to hold to limit the pod movement or to hold the pod in place. But it worked. It definitely worked. Weight. He's got weight underneath the rear axle. And he's got weight on the pod. Another little piece on top here. Very nicely cut out. Very nicely cut out. Another piece of weight here. Yeah, axles in there solid. No side-to-side movement. Independent. Oh yeah. Independent front wheels. Looks like a very unique way to limit to set up your independents. He's got stops on each side of the front axle holders. He's trimmed back his wire, exposing the braid. Possibly that gives the wire a little bit more movement. Self-centering guide. So the guide is a sideways wood guide according to my notes here. Just barely touching the block. Maybe a hair up. Oh yeah, they are. They're maybe just a hair off the block. Yeah, they're a hair off the block. Let's see the front wheel spin. The motor is a slot.it 29K motor in a sidewinder configuration. And the gearing is 10 tooth on the pinion and 34 tooth on the spur gear for a 3.40 average. Slot.it, I don't feel like slot.it 0 grips, but in my notes here it says slot.it 0 grips. They feel very sticky to me. Clean all tires. I don't think they're 0 grips. But maybe they are. Not sure. They're very sticky. Rear hubs. I'm not sure if they're a self-made hub or not, but they're a very unique looking hub. My notes here, they're a G. Martin 16x12 hub. It's a unique hub, regardless. And they're about 12 mil wide. With the AS25 scale auto tires, as I mentioned before, for a Formula 1 car. So congratulations, Peter, on your 6th. Very well done for all the ups and downs that you went through all season. Fifth place, Smokey-O. Smokey-O's car came out on fire. He was in first place after the first half of the season or so. And once he hit the Western tracks, he just lacked grip. He lacked traction, and the car looks good. It's on the block solid, and just lacks some traction. And I think it has to do with the test track he tests on. It's a silicone track that they clean to test rubber tires out on and urethane tires, and I just don't think you can test a car as efficiently. Yeah, Smokey-O's track was actually one of the tracks where the scale auto tires just couldn't get any grip on, but then on some other tracks they had instant grip, the AS25 scale auto tires. So I think it has to do with the test track that Smokey-O tests on, where his traction fell as soon as it hit the Western rubber tracks. Smokey-O's car comes in at 91 grams. Forgot to mention, Smokey-O's won countless proxy races the last 15, maybe even 20 years or so. More than we can count. So weight placement. Smokey-O's got... So he's got weight on the front of his pod, behind the front axle, between the front axle and the pod. Same as Peter, the car we just checked. He's got his braid the insulation stripped back to expose the conductor. And the theory of that is it provides a little more movement. He's got lots of glue here just to hold wires in place, make sure nothing moves. Glue in the motor. The motor's well glued into the pod. That's a 3D pod. And he's using a Scale Auto hard chassis for the Viper. Independent. No, it's not independent. Solid axle. Both wheels turn together. Wheels just barely touch the surface of the block. Just barely. They're free spinning. Imagine with the body on. You probably... Nope, they're still spinning. Yeah. Just grazing. Just grazing the block. Smokey's got tape on the entire pod. He's got the tape cut out for the motor for cooling, I would think. A piece of fiber here. He's using a Shark Evo 28K motor. Gearing is 11 tooth pinion, 34 tooth spur gear for 3.09 ratio. Looks like he's got CB design hubs all throughout. They look like 13 mil rears. Yeah, 13 mil rear. So they're 15 by 13 hubs, big fat tires on there, NSR Ultra Grips. They're probably Vanquish model for the NSR Ultra Grips. Congratulations, Smokey, on your 5th. Up next, we have Redliner with a slotted Maserati. This is the first time that I recall seeing a slotted in the top 10. So, huge congratulations. Maybe you're going to start a trend. This car ran fantastic. Just performed consistently throughout the whole series. It's nice seeing a slotted in the top 5. So Redliner, his car comes in at 86 grams. He's got a slotted standard chassis for the Maserati. Oh, I see that must be for the it's a little washer here. That's probably from the off the body post. I'll try to remember to get that back on for you. So our 5th place car has weight on the front of the pod and 2 big pieces of weight behind the front wheels. Solid axle. And they're just grazing the block, it looks like. Yeah, just grazing. hardly touching, maybe not even touching, but very close. Yeah, just off the block, just a hair. Yeah, he's got some pod movement. Just a hair of pod movement. Not even half a mil, just a little bit of movement. Electrical tape for the suspension. The guide is a slot.it. I think that's the CH85 Advanced guide. I think. Looks like it. Slot.it guide. Actually, that reminds me, I didn't check Smokey's pod movement, I don't think. Let's take a look. Yeah, hardly any pod movement. It's pretty tight. It's pretty tight. And he's using the nut and bolt to lock things in place. Yeah, hardly any movement. Okay, back to Redliners here. Yeah, so he's got about half a mil of movement there. The motor is a Shark 28 Evo motor, Sidewinder, with a slot.it offset pod. That's either 0.75 or 1 mil offset pod. And his gearing is 11/34 for 3.09 ratio. Looks like he has CB design rear hubs and looks like slot.it front hubs. Yeah, slot.it 8 mil wide front hubs and a CB design 13 mil hubs in the back. So another car with big fat 13 mil wide hubs by CB Design. Most likely Vanquish tires, I'm thinking again. They're Enersar Ultra Grips. Congratulations, Redliner, on your 5th with your slot.it Maserati. Actually 4th, sorry. I shouldn't say 5th, 4th. I might have made a mistake saying earlier that it was a 5th, but it's a 4th place car for Redliner. Fantastic car. Your next car is our 3rd place guy, Courtney S. Beautiful. Beautiful custom livery on this Ford GTE by Sideways. Just gorgeous. Look at that. He must have spent a lot of time masking and painting. Like, that's like, wow, total respect. Like even the grills for the motor painted black. Great job. Really nice. Lights painted black on the inside. Awesome. Great job. Courtney's been building a lot of fast cars the last I'd say year and a half, 2 years now. I believe he won the Can-Am Proxy just a few months ago. About 4 or 5 months ago when the Can-Am Proxy wrapped up. So congratulations with that too. But yeah, 3rd in the GT Proxy among such a field is amazing. So Courtney, his Ford GTE comes in at, ooh, it's lighter than I thought it was, 81 grams. Hey, weight placement. Courtney's got weight on the front of the pod, on the sides of the chassis, a little bit of weight in front of the axle on either side of the guide. Courtney's using a Scale Auto red pod. Front axle. It's independent. Tires don't feel sticky. A little bit of up-down movement on the front axle. I should have said this is a standard Ford GTE chassis. Pod movement. A little bit of pod movement. Yeah, not a whole lot, but a little bit. I'd say maybe 1/4 of a mil, if I was to guess. Courtney's got tape on the front 2/3, half of the pod for suspension. And Courtney's running a Piranha 25K motor with 11 tooth pinion and 32 tooth, actually no, that's 31 tooth spur gear for 2.82 average. And he's using, it looks like a NSR. Yeah, he's using an NSR pinion as well. Yeah, I find when you use a NSR pinion on a slot.it style of pod, you get a little better mesh. And that's what he's doing here. Yeah. His guide, oh, it's a big one. That's a Slotting Plus. That's their longest guide they manufacture. And yeah, Courtney's using NSR hubs. I can feel the ribs. Yeah, I can definitely feel the ribs. How wide are those hubs? 10.45 mil hubs in the back. He's using big fat tires. Big NSR Ultra Grip tires. They overhang the hub a little bit. How wide are those tires? Yeah, they're about 12 mil wide tires. And they are NSR Ultra Grips, according to the notes here. And yeah, according to the notes, there's slotted air hub. Okay, it's a slotted air hub, 15 by 10. So 10 mil wide slotted hub. Just grazing the block, it looks like. Maybe a hair up in the air. Yeah, they're hair up in the air, kind of similar to Smokey's car. This one actually is making contact. This one isn't. A little bit of up-down movement on the front posts. Oh, I see. Courtney's got a little bit of weight under the rear axle. So he did have some weight under the rear axle. Okay. The motor's screwed into the pod. Congratulations, Courtney, on your third. The trophy will be in the mail with your car. Second place car, Aloha. Aloha finished third in the last season's GT3 Proxy, and he improved on that by finishing second. That's very impressive to actually improve on a podium spot. Amazing. So Aloha is running a, I should also mention that he's been building a lot of good cars lately too, just like Courtney, so he's definitely a force. So yeah, this is a sideways BMW M6 with a sideways red stiff chassis. $94 grams of weight. And yeah, I should mention, beautiful custom livery. Great job cutting, masking. Amazing. That looks great. I should also mention, I think all these cars have Lexan interiors, which is a good thing to lower your center of gravity. And a lot of these cars have the rubber wings, I should have mentioned. Courtney's had the rubber wing. This one does. I think PKCZ, yeah, he had a rubber wing on his car too. So Aloha, his weight placement. He's got none under the axle. Looks like he's got weight here. He painted black with the Hawaii flag and Cloverleaf Racing decal, number 4. Good for a photo op. And then, oh, he did a great job. So he painted his weight black here for the pod, and then he really neatly trimmed out weight. Really thin weight. Extremely thin. It's like I think that might be 1/32. 1/32 thickness, but yeah, he did a great job cutting it out, and he painted the weight black. That's it for weight. Oh, he's got a piece of weight right here. Big piece of weight in the front. Independent wheels again with it looks like he put some sort of coating on the front tires to make them smooth and less sticky. Yeah, they're touching the block very well, the front wheels. Yeah. Yeah, lots of contact with the block. The pod, there's a little bit of movement. Yeah, a little bit of movement. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Yeah, I can see the pod move just a hair. He's got it all taped up, front to back. Solid. He's got these this cutout for the chassis flex. He's got no supports holding it together or anything. It's totally open. Motor. It's an NSR Shark 30 green motor. The gearing is 11 pinion and 34 tooth spur gear for a 3.09 average. And the guide. Aloha is using a Slotting Plus sport guide. It's a little longer than most. The front of the guide is almost to the front of the chassis. Rear tires. So Aloha is using, I can feel the ribs, and those are a NSR hub. I think they're a 10 mil hub. Yeah, 10 mil hub with tires that are about 12 mils wide. Yeah, 12 mil wide tire, and they're NSR Super Grips. And yeah, great job, Aloha, on your car. Second place. That's fantastic. Check, yeah, fairly low profile tire too. And he even went to the extreme and put some Michelin decals on the sidewalls of his NSR tires. On all four, actually. Great job on your second place. What's next is first place. You had a third, second. Naturally, next is first. Okay, the last car in the top 10 is my car, CGY Racer. It's a Ford GTE. And let's measure the weight here. $92 grams. So I find a lot of my cars, they're at that 90 range. Okay, so this is a Ford GT, just like Courtney's third place car and Peter's sixth place car. So 3 cars, top 10 were Ford GTEs. And weights. This car has weight. I should mention this is a standard Ford standard sideways chassis for a Ford GTE, black chassis. Weight placement. There's weight underneath of the motor, underneath, not the motor, but the rear axle. And it's as wide as the can of the motor, the weight. So it doesn't go all the way through to the other side of the pod extension here. There's weights on the front of the pod. Really narrow weights glued on the side of the chassis. Weights behind the front tires. Front wheels, there is movement, and they're just barely grazing. Yeah, they're just barely touching the surface of the block. Pod movement. Actually, not a whole lot of movement on the pod. Yeah, not a whole lot of movement on the pod at all. You might be able to slide a piece of paper between the pod and the chassis, and that's it. So, not a whole lot. But there is movement with the chassis cutout. As you can see, the sideways chassis is cut right out, and there's movement that direction, but not a whole lot with the pod itself. Fairly tight. Usually my cars, they have a little more movement than that, so kind of surprising myself here. And I think I mentioned the axle movement's just barely moving. The motor is an NSR Shark 25K blue motor. The gearing is 11-tooth pinion and 34-tooth spur gear for 3.09 average. And I, just like Courtney, I think it was Courtney? Yeah, he went with the NSR spur gear. Or not spur gear, the pinion, just like I did. I find you just have a better gear mesh with NSR pinion versus a slotted pinion, so that's why I went with the NSR. Yeah, it still seems pretty quiet. The guide is a Slotting Plus guide. It's not as far forward as Courtney's. Oh no, it's about the same forwardness as Courtney's. Where's it? Aloha's? Yeah. Yeah, Aloha's car, look how much farther his guide is forward versus This one. Like, what a difference. So yeah, that's the Slotting Plus guide. And the rear tires, I definitely know they're CB Design hubs, front and back. The tires on the front, they're uncoated front tires. So they do have a little bit of traction. And they're fairly wide. How wide are these front ones? 10 mil. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're 10 mil wide front tires. And the rear hubs, they're 13 mil rear hubs. Yeah, 13 mil rear hubs with Vanquish tires on the back, and they're super grips. They're still in good shape too, just like all the other cars. All the tires look great. I think that is it. It's going to be a wrap for the season. So yeah, trophies are going to be in the mail with all the podium cars, and medals for Team USA. And yeah, thanks for another great season, guys. The cars were faster this season than ever before, and more cars in the faster time ranges on all the tracks at each race. So definitely going in the right direction, but when will it end? Are the cars going to plateau and stay at this level or what? But we'll find out next season. So so long, and thanks for all the support. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.